Morning, gifted crafters. It's crafting time.
Worries on my mind, it's been a tough week. My life feels a void. There's something that I need. My supplies on the table, I grab a comfy seat. I need to craft to put my mind at ease. Crafting changed my life, it mends my soul. In my happy space, I'm in full control. It's crafting time, craft my troubles away. Give me a world of color to brighten up my day. Crafting videos on, searching what I can do. Sipping on my drink, feeling inspired and new. Crafting's good for the soul.
Live from the Sunshine State in Miami, Florida, here is the Gifted Crafters Morning Show with Nancy.
Good time. Ooh, time to get our craft on. Ooh, time to have fun. Ooh, time to feel good.
Good morning, gifted crafters, and welcome back to the Gifted Crafters Morning Show. Good morning out there. I got caught up reading the chat as we were going live. So good morning out there. If you're tuning in for the first time, my name is Nancy with GiftsHQ, and we host these daily sessions to just talk about everything crafting, from sewing, quilting, decoupage, and so much more. So if that's something you're into, you're definitely in the right place. Go ahead and put your name in the chat and say hello, because we have an awesome community out here and it's really amazing, and we like to help each other out. All right, let's see who we have out there today. We've got Faker McFake from lovely Louisiana at 64 degrees. Oh boy. Good morning to you. We've got Debbie Maddox. Good morning to you. We've got Barbara Nance from Ohio. Good morning. Let's see. We've got Linda out here from chilly northern Michigan. Oh boy, that sounds a little chilly there. We've got Jenny Owens, and yes, good morning to all the beautiful crafters, including you. Yay! We've got Annette. Oh my gosh, it's cold. 39 degrees in Connecticut. Oh God, you guys are giving me the chills here. Robin's Quilt Basket. Good morning. We've got Lisa Lilly from Richmond, Illinois. Let's see, we've got Becky here from North Central Texas. Good morning. We've got Jackie Hallman. Good morning to you. Lisa M. Good morning. Deborah Bile. Good morning. JBL. Let's see. Oh my goodness. I'm not sure if I missed anyone here. Cindy Ball. Jail over 71. J-Lo. Marge, good morning. Our friends from Canada, yay, good morning to you. Let's see, and if you're here for the first time, let us know that it's your first time here too. Teeny Tiffin from Kerrville, Texas, good morning. And of course, Jenny is from San Antonio. Okay, I think I got everybody. I hope I did. If I didn't, sorry, don't worry. The chat's still going and I will probably pick it up after. So good morning all to you. So once again, Mr. H is still out, so I'm kind of solo here. He is logged in remotely and is going to help us out with the graphics. But I've got him on my cell phone as well, so he can kind of talk to us, kind of, sort of, right? Don't know if everyone can hear him too well or not, but still kind of in the same position. We still have the sciatica, and you know, he's still there. So, you know, hopefully things will start turning around soon. But we've got the weekend because it's TGI Friday. Yes. So it'll give him a little chance to rest up, and hopefully things will turn around and we'll see where we are on Monday. Yeah. Oh boy. Alrighty, guys. If you're here for the first time, the way I like to start my lives is with a little bit of a toast. So grab yourself a cup of whatever it is you have in the morning, you know, the drill, coffee, tea, soda, water, whatever it is, and go ahead and raise that glass because we're going to do a little toast in the morning because it's Friday and the weekend is here and we can finally relax, maybe get some crafting done, some sewing, who knows, whatever it is that you like to do on the weekend, just enjoy because life is just too short, right? Yes, definitely. So go ahead and raise your glasses, and if you don't have a cup, don't worry. I'm going to pour you one, or at least Mr. H will. There he is. Mr. H is pouring that cup of coffee for you. Or it could be tea, or it could be whatever it is that you want. But raise those glasses. Happy Friday, yes. And hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. Let's give a great cheers to our weekend, right? Awesome. Let me take my swivel here. Feels so good, you know, in the morning. I gotta take another one. Okay, so, that felt great. All right, wakes me up, gets me going, yes. Okay, so we've got our drink. Let's go ahead, let's grab our snacks. Let's go ahead and get the snacks first before we get into anything. So let's roll out that food truck because it's Friday and we gotta grab snacks. And you know what? I'm kind of in the mood for some crumb cake. I think I want a little piece of crumb cake. And that will be really well with some coffee, you know? So I may grab some of that. So I don't know what you're grabbing, but that's probably what I'm grabbing. But don't cut the line, Faker McFake. You're always cutting the line there. You've got coffee, awesome. Yeah, go ahead and grab your snacks. We've got everything from cookies and donuts and croissants and muffins, and of course the carrots and kale are available for the healthy people out there. And oh my goodness, yeah, we've got the witch. The witch is here to say, hey, Halloween's around the corner. Don't forget to get your snacks for Halloween. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. We've got our snacks, we've got our drinks. I'm hoping you're in your cozy spot or at least a safe place to watch. And let's go ahead and get started here. Yay, yes, cheers, awesome, wonderful. My layout is a little bit different, so it's a little distracting for me. I keep kind of going into the chat. Kind of like it though. But I keep seeing my empty chair over there, so not so happy about that, but it's okay. We'll get them back here. Alrighty, so what have we been talking about? So guys, if you haven't been tuned in, this week we have been working on Hopscotch, which is a pieced panel quilt, and it's a beautiful, beautiful quilt with some gorgeous batik fabrics, and we've been working with a lot, and it's a super, super simple pattern. Very, very simple, very beginner friendly. It's something that you can kind of put together at home with your own fabrics. If you have a panel at home, just putting that middle panel in the middle and then just picking some blocks here, and you have to decide on what size you want to do and add some sashing. I mean, it's so simple to do. It is a pretty large quilt. The finished size, I always forget the finished size, is 56.5 by up to 72.5 inches. So it is quite large. And I have made it even larger because I added a little bit of stuff to it. Let's see, it's not focusing right. There we go. No. Oh, here we go. Much better. Yeah, 56.5 by 72.5. So yeah, pretty large quilt. And I've made it even larger because I did not want to cut into the panel. And we've talked all about that and how we kind of saved it by adding some borders onto the side. And so I've done that, and I've added the inner borders. And we want to talk today about sewing long seams. Okay, these are the long seams that you have on these types of projects where they're pretty long and you've got a lot to sew. How can you make sure that you are staying within your 1/4 inch seam and sewing that straight line all the way across? It can be a little challenging to do. There's tons of distractions out there. And so I want to just share a couple tips that I've researched, because I kind of had that same question. You know, it's kind of hard to make sure that you're staying right on line and you're not kind of veering off to the sides just a little bit when you have a really long seam like that. And so we're going to talk about that today. And I've got one inner border that I want to go ahead and sew with you, and it's a pretty long seam, so we'll kind of talk about the techniques, and we'll also show that to you. And then all we have left with this quilt is the outer border. Now, I would have cut it up last night, but I thought about it some more, and I think I'm going to need to change, do a little bit of math and change the dimensions on this, because since we added on more fabric on the end and made the quilt a little bit wider so that we didn't have to cut the panel, I'm afraid I may not have enough fabric for the border, for the outer border. So what I am going to do, I believe the pattern said about 6 inches for the outer border. So I think I'm going to adjust that. I may do 5 or 4 inches to give myself some more fabric so that then I can cut another strip of it, you know, because I can definitely see myself doing this, cutting it at the 6 inches and then running out at the end. So I don't want that to happen. But if it does, there's other things that we can do, like adding squares at the end corners in case you're short, right? But I don't have all that much fabric left, and I don't know if that'll be enough, depending how big I make my border, right? So some calculations that need to be done, and I've got to kind of lay it out first and take some accurate measurements. This table is not big enough to do that because, like I said, it's a really big quilt. So I'm going to have to kind of lay it out on the floor and take some measurements and just kind of see where this lands to then decide how I want to cut this fabric so that then I can just sew up these borders. So I wanted to show you how to sew these outer borders to it, but we're going to talk about the inner border because I left one strip on purpose so that I can show you guys. It's the same concept. It's just showing that long seam, but I didn't want to cut this up because it was kind of late. It was like almost 2 in the morning and I just needed to go to bed. So I said, yeah, definitely. Are you mitering the corners? I haven't decided yet, Cindy. I think what I'm going to do is first take all my measurements and see how much fabric I have and figure out what my cuts are going to be for this final border. And then I'll kind of decide if I'm going to do that or not. For the inner borders, I did not. The inner borders are just straight. I did not miter them. So I'm not sure if I'm going to do that with the outer borders yet. So we'll see. It really depends on how much fabric I have, because this is all I got right here. And it's folded, of course, but this is all I have. And it doesn't look like very much for me to be able to do the whole quilt. So I want to make sure I do have to make the borders larger than the inner border, but They said 6 inches. I don't think I'm going to be able to do 6 inches. I'm thinking I'm going to do 4 inches, but we'll see. We will see. I'll have to just kind of measure it out and see. I need to see how long and how wide this measures, and then I have to see exactly how much fabric I have and kind of work my calculations down to that. And then I'll figure out what my cuts need to be in order to cover the whole thing. And if I get to the point that I can't cover the whole things, then maybe I'll do the cornerstones and make the corners something else. But I'd like to kind of find something within the Batik family. I do have some fabrics, and I got to take a look to see what I have, and I may do that. Cindy said, I thought if that was your plan, not to miter, as mitering takes more fabric. Yeah, and I don't think I'm gonna have, as I don't have too much fabric. It's not all that much fabric here, so I don't know. I really don't think I'm gonna be able to, but that's okay. We'll figure something out. You know, there's always something. So I'll show you on Monday what my finished product is, and I'll let you know exactly what I did in the end. But I do got to take some measurements, lay it out like on the floor somewhere to be able to really get something accurate, and then figure out what I can do. And I do have a couple Batik fabrics that I have stashed, and I just can't remember the colors of them. But I'll figure something out that I can put, because I really want it to match really nicely with this. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we have here. So far, let's see, I kind of pinned what I have, and let me try to get to an area that's not pinned, so I don't stick myself. Well, let me do it this way. Say that again. Oh, yes. Yes, guys. Before I get too much into this, we've got Happy Mail. Let me take a pause. Hold on. We've got Happy Mail. See, I get too excited and I get so into the quilt, I forget everything. Gotta look at my cards. Got my cards and I didn't even look at it. You know, it would have told me, yes, Happy Mail. Okay, let's do that really quick, because we've got some Happy Mail and I was excited to get it. I've already opened it, but I'm going to show you guys. Yay, I'm so excited. This Happy Mail is from Lisa Lily. She's spoiling me. Gosh, I love that lady. You are spoiling me. You really are. I love it. Okay, so we got this box. Don't worry, I covered all the addresses and stuff. I didn't want that to come out. So I went ahead. We got this little box in the mail. So I went to physical therapy yesterday, and when I got back, my husband said, "Oh, you got a package." So I got all excited. So yeah, I'm still going to physical therapy for my knee, and it's getting a little better. You know, it's, you know, if anything, you know, maybe I'm getting a workout. That's happening at least, right? So who knows? We'll see how it goes. Still got a couple of more therapy sessions to do. So yeah, so we've got this, and I've got a little card, and well, let's do the card first. The card is really cute. Look at the little sunflower. Isn't she adorable? I love it. And it says, "Hi Nancy, this is the quilting foot for the Gnome 1600 machine. So sorry I didn't get it in the box when we sent the machine. Say hi to Harvey and Herman. We're happy that you are enjoying the machine. Hugs and loves, Lisa." You are so, so sweet. Thank you so much, because, you know, you read my mind. And if you guys are wondering what the quilting foot is and what it looks like, can get it out. She packaged it super well. Thank you. Let's see. I will close this and get this out of the way. So this is the quilting foot for the Gnome machine. Can you guys see that? Let's see. There we go. Really nice. And you can see here, open toe there. And so this will just, it's got a little spring and it'll go up and down as you quilt. Makes things a lot easy. Yes, very thoughtful, Cindy. Very, very thoughtful. I love that. Yeah, and I've been researching all different things for this machine. I saw they have an extension table, so I'm like looking at different sites and I'm trying to decide which one to buy it from. And I'm trying to get all the, you know, bells and whistles that come with this machine. I'm going to find out, you know, who sells all these parts so I can get all that. There is a Tops Sewing and Vac place. It's about 45 minutes or so away. So that's another place that I can kind of go to see what they have. But yeah, super, super cute. Love it. Will definitely be using it. Yay. So thank you, Lisa. I really appreciate it. You are just such a sweetheart. Thank you so much. That is awesome. I love it. Thank you. Okay, so we've got, I'm going to leave her right. Actually, you know what? No, I've got too many magnets. Let's put them over here. She can sit right there for me. Okay, so yeah, cute card too. It's a Hallmark too. Hallmark card. Really cute. Thank you. I'm going to add you to my board here. I love getting happy mail, guys. You guys are sweet. And you know, don't feel like you have to do anything for me, please. You know, I do this because I love it and I love you guys. This is just something that I really love to do. But thank you so much. I really appreciate that. You guys are the best. Awesome. So, okay, let's get back to the quilt here. Let's see. So here, I'm opening this up. And so, of course, we've got all our sashing that we did here. And what cute little gnomes. Here they are. And I've got my borders here on the end here. We've attached those to the side. And then what I did, I'm going to try to see if I can find, I think it was towards the bottom part. So the sashing, or the borders, I should say, the inner borders here, the strips, because we've added more to it, were not long enough. So I needed to add more. And thankfully, of course, I had a lot of strips. I still have some more left in the bag also. And so I had to kind of add. And so what I ended up doing, and I probably could have did a little, I'm off just slightly, but what I ended up doing is just adding another strip, and I tried to align the strip that I was adding to this sashing right here so that it seemed like it was one long piece. I was off by like 1/8 of an inch, but that's okay. It's part of me when I was doing this really long strip. So not too bad, because I did add on to the strip and I sewed it, and then I started to sew along, and it happened to be falling short about 1/8 of an inch, but it's fine. It's barely noticeable. Let me see, bring it over to the camera so you guys could see. Let's see, can you guys see that? See how it is off just 1/8. Oh, hold on. There we go. Just 1/8 of an inch there. You can see right where my finger is, and you can see it's tiny bit off, but it's fine. I'll live with it, right? I'll be okay with that. So just a little bit off, and you can see the fabric starts here and it ends here. So it's just a tiny bit off of that strip, but it's still, you know, you can't really tell unless you go really close up that the seam line is there, but it's pretty close. And so I wanted it to look like one continuous seam line going across. So I don't know. I think it's okay. I think we'll be fine with it. Not going to worry too much about it. So I did run into that issue, but you know, again, I just added more fabric to it, and that seemed to work. And then I kind of kept going along, and let's see, was there any other piece? I do have little bits of threads that I need to cut here and there, but I will get to that later. Then when I got to my ends, my corners, sorry, I keep turning this around because it's just so big, so big. It's fine, no one's ever gonna check your work. Yeah, no quilting police here, right? Yes, thank you, Chris. Yes, hopefully no one will see that. And then I've got the corner here, and so, oops, there we go. And so for the corner, you know, I just did a straight, you know, no mitered or anything like that. I just did it straight, landing across. And here's that, remember that extra piece that we put? I told you guys it wasn't going to be much. So you've got, this is where we originally ended. And so we added the sashing here to continue the design, right? And so I did add that extra piece. And this is all that's showing. It's a very tiny piece here. It's maybe about 1 inch on both sides. And then, of course, I've got the border. But the problem was, I didn't want to add this inner border next to the sash, because then it'll just look like one big inner border going on the sides and not on the top. And I didn't want that to happen. So I did put in, you know, the block to offset the color a little bit, and then added the sash. So on each side, it has this little strip here, about 1 inch of the batik fabric that's breaking up in between the sash and the inner border. So it looks fine because both sides have the same design on top and bottom. So I'm happy with that. And that will now allow, by doing that, it allows me to then keep, and I guess I need to turn it the other way. Hold on. Here we go. It's going to allow me to keep this right here. Oh gosh, it's just so big. So hard to handle on this little table. Okay. And so there we are. So you can see in the overhead, you can see here, we've kept the tree and we're keeping it all the way down. So that we're not cutting anything off. Everything stayed, and we are right alongside the edge of this panel. So where we sewed our 1/4 inch seam is right on the edge of the panel here. And so the other side here is just that selvage. So I completely made a really accurate cut, or not cut, or seam right on that edge. Yeah, so me and Miss Molly, you know, we've been up late. We were up late doing this. And then on the other side, it's kind of the same thing, where we're going to have the full tree here showing with all the leaves, and there's no cut. And then on the flip side, you see the tree here on this side. So pretty good. I was really happy that I was able to kind of save the panel and make sure that I got the full panel without any cuts. So I was able to do that, and I thought that came out really good, but a little tricky there. And you do have to kind of make sure that your panel is straight or cut straight, right? You don't want panels that are kind of wonky, you know, side to side. So you got to make sure that they are cut straight, at least on top and bottom, before you decide to do that, because then your sides are going to kind of be wonky on the ends, right? Because it's not straight. But I was lucky that it was cut nice and straight, and all I did was go ahead and sew right on the selvage to show the entire panel. So really like that. I thought that came out really good, and I really love the colors on the bottom. The batik fabrics are just really, really beautiful and amazing to go with these colors. So then I went ahead and sewed this long inner border. I've got, I think I've got the bottom border, and I had to add some on. So of course here on the bottom as well, I did have to add some extra fabric because it ran short, since it now is a little bit larger. And so I went ahead and tried to line up my seam line with the sashing to almost mimic like it kind of continues all the way down. Yeah, I saved the trees. Yes, I did. This is going to be my tree hugger quilt. I did save the tree. I was so excited with that. And so, you know, I just really wanted to make sure that I tried to follow the sashing all the way down to make it look somewhat like it's continuing, right? I just didn't want to have seam lines just nilly-willy anywhere, right? I tried to really kind of think about where I was ending and where a new seam was beginning. And so I tried to line them up wherever I could. So lots of that going on in the quilt as well. Okay, so now we're going to do the last inner border on the top. If I can turn it around, we've got this big long seam to do all the way across. And this is the last inner border that we have to sew. And so I do have it pinned. Of course, I've got it going the other way. So I've got all this pinned in place. And let's talk about the pinning for just a second. Let me try to coordinate myself here with this quilt being so big. I'm going to try to flip it the other way so it's easier to see. There we go. Okay. So one thing that I did, and this is kind of a little trick if you're not too confident about when you're kind of adding on to your borders, and you want to make sure that your seam line is somewhere exact. Let's say you're adding on to this inner border and you need to add on more sashing, like I said we did. And you want to make sure that that seam line where you're joining the two is going to hit an exact spot. This is kind of how I handled it here. And you can kind of do the same thing if you're not too confident about just sewing it, because I wasn't too thrilled how I was off like 1/8 of an inch here. So then I decided, you know what, I am not going to sew my join for my border just yet. Oh, thanks you, Cheryl. Thank you, thank you. And you love the fabrics. You can't wait to see it finished. Yeah, love autumn favorites. I do too. I just love these colors. They're amazing. But, you know, I wasn't too happy with where that 1/8 of an inch that I was short on. So I decided I'm going to change this up a little bit, since this is the top of the whole quilt. It's probably going to get seen probably the most because it's on the top, right? And so I thought, okay, I'm going to do this a little bit differently. And so I went ahead and I pinned it. And I know we've talked about the pinning before, you know, pinning it on, especially if it's a long seam, use a lot of pins. Use as many pins as you want, just to make sure that you're on track here, right? You also want to line up this edge because it's a long seam. We're not just lining up and pinning the top to hold it in place and get it lined up with the bottom fabric, but we're also making sure that it's not going to shift side to side and go kind of wonky on us. So I did pin the side here, and you know, if you think about it, you probably want to pin over here every once in a while. Like you may want to just add a pin on the bottom as well, just to really hold this in place. And so you'll have the top all pinned, you'll have the side pinned, and then you want to kind of pin on the bottom, and we'll just kind of walk it all the way through so you can see that. If I can get this to lay flat, because you definitely want to have this on a flat surface. You don't want to do this like on your lap. You want it to lay flat as you can get it. Now, I'm going to try to lift this up just a tad. There we go. Okay, so this is about as flat as I'm going to be able to get it here. And so I'm not going to have to pin every single one. I'm going to do every other, but you can do every one if you want, if you feel more comfortable. And I'm just pinning it right on the sashing. You can pin it anywhere you want, but I'm going to pin it on the sashing here. Now, here's one mistake that I'm doing here. Look at the way I'm pinning this. This is not correct. This is not holding anything. The whole point of this pin is so that your fabric's not going to move side to side. This is not going to hold anything, because if it moves side to side, it's just going to slip right off. See that? It's just going to slip right off here. So where we really need to pin it is exactly how we have the top pinned. So you're going to have it pinned like this. I'm going to go back and correct myself on that other one, because that's not correct. Because if you think about it, your feed dogs are pulling that bottom fabric. The top fabric is not going to be pulled as much. So you want to make sure that your top and your bottom stay aligned together. And if you put your pin going this way, as you feed, it's going to be pulling on the bottom fabric, but the top fabric won't move, and this is just going to slide right out. It's not holding anything. It's not securing anything together. So you have to kind of think about how the machine works, how you're positioning your fabric, to know how you should be positioning your pins. And so I'm going to put it this way. That's going to lock this in. It's going to prevent it from moving, because remember, we're sewing this way. We're not sewing this way, right? We're sewing it this way. We're sewing this 1/4 inch here. And so because we're going this way, you want to go against the traffic, right? You want to go against how you are sewing. So it locks it and holds it into place. If you're moving this way and you have something locked, you're not going to be able to move. And that's exactly what the pin is doing. It's holding it down and in place, and it's locking it so it can't shift anywhere. If you position your pin this way, it's just going to slide right off. It's not going to hold anything. You're not holding anything down. And then it could possibly move and shift and throw off your entire seam. So especially since this is a long seam, you know, you want to try to put as many pins as you can to really hold that position down. And so let's kind of move down a little bit here towards the end. And I'm going to show you something else that I did. And this is now to the point where now I'm running out of fabric, and I didn't have enough of a long strip. And I've cut this by the width of the fabric. So, you know, you can see here that little add. I needed to add this little piece right here of fabric. And so I wanted to position this in a way where I knew where that seam was going to land. And so you see here, we've got our regular block, and then this is where the fabric is joining. And so I had to repin this a couple of times because I wanted the seam to land right on this little side here, right? I want this to look like a continuous line going all the way across from this sashing. And so I pinned it this way because that's where what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to sew my 1/4 inch seam all the way down. And when I get to this point, I'm going to cut my thread, and then I'm going to line up to make sure that I am exactly where I am, where I want to be right here, so that my sashing looks like this is just one continuous line going across, okay? What I did before is I went ahead and I joined this, and then I laid it down. Well, lo and behold, I was off about 1/8 of an inch. So I'm going to see if doing this method, waiting until I get to just about maybe where my pin is, I will cut my threads, and then I will look to see if this is exactly where I need it to get lined up, leaving that 1/4 inch seam. Then I'll go ahead and I will sew this together, and then I'll continue and finish my long inner border. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. And that's just because, you know, this can shift a little bit, and I want that seam to be exactly there. So I'm going to see if this method works a little bit better than going ahead and doing the seam first and just having that long border. Because this is just so long and it's batik, it's a batik fabric, it's a little slippery, so it's a little bit harder on there. Let's see. Robin says, I think all pins bend at some point, especially when pinning quilts. Yes, I use clip for thick seams without points to match. Yeah, I have seen that, and I had a couple I noticed yesterday. I don't know where I put them, but I was trying to put them onto the side, and then I said I'll just do it later because it was just so late. But yeah, I've got a couple of pins that do have that bend. When your pins bend like that, try not to use them. Put them to the side. You can use it for something else because you want your pins to be nice and straight here. I have a couple of different pins that I use. I've got all kinds, the long ones. I've got, you know, the glass balls. There's just so many different pins out there. I wanted to kind of just do some research on all the different kinds of pins that are out there, you know, and are we using them properly? Are we using the right pin for the project? I'll have to figure that out because there's just so many out there in the market, and they all do different things. And there's clips that are available that you can sew on, that you iron on. I mean, there's just so many things out there. And I want to kind of just recap and see, am I using the right pins for the right project? You know, there's just tons out there. Once it's quilted, that particular seam will not be noticeable. It won't. I know. It's just me. It's me. It's me. It's noticeable to me. And I'm trying to be as accurate as I can and see if I can hit that seam exactly. So I'm doing this just because, you know, I know it'll still look fine if it doesn't, but I want to see if testing my theory by doing this, am I going to hit it exactly the way I want it? It's just a challenge for me, something that I want to play with. And, you know, maybe sometime later I'll have a project that kind of really does need to be exactly there. Then I kind of know I tested the theory out and it worked for me. So let's see what happens. So I'm going to go ahead and start sewing this. And let me turn this way. We got to wake up Miss Molly here because we got to get to sewing. We got a lot to sew here. And I really would like to finish this with you guys, if I could. If not, you know, me and Molly will be up again. We're fine with that. And I like to kind of just pull the piece that I am sewing out and then kind of just lay this. Now, if I had a bigger table, I would lay it nicely. But my table's kind of small. I'm in a small area, and I think a lot of you kind of know where I'm at. You probably have a similar setup. But what we can do is just do the best we can with this, right? Yes. Alrighty. Yeah, we are our worst critic. That's so true. We are, but it's a challenge. Everything is a challenge for us. Okay, so I've got this all lined up, ready to go. Let me just grab my foot over here, get started. And we've got a couple of stitches. Let me back up just a little bit. Couple stitches here I want to take, and I'm going to pull that first pin out. Now notice I am leaving this pin on. I am not taking this pin off. I am leaving it on. It's away from the needle. It's not going to get sewn on, but I want to keep this to hold for me. And I'm going to adjust this because I needed it to hold it going this way for me, but now I'm going to adjust it, and I'm going to adjust the pin to go this way because it served its purpose for this side. Now I want it to serve the purpose for the rest of the inner border here. So let me just sew a couple more here. Once I am past this border, now I'm going to switch this pin. It served its purpose from this side, which is what I wanted it to do. Now I want it to serve the purpose this way. So I'm going to change this position to go the other way. Now it's locking it this way so that this is not going to move at all, okay? We want to make sure that this pin now, positioned like this, is going to avoid this from moving around. Okay, so it's going to hold this in place. If I keep it the other way, it's not helping me at all. Remember, it always has to go against how you are sewing. We are sewing vertically, so I need that pin to be horizontal so that it holds this in place. Okay, now for long seams that you're doing, from everywhere that I kept researching, the best way to sew long seams is to take it into small chunks. Positioning your hand, we've talked about hand position, making sure you've got your thumb on the end and your fingers over here all the way on the top, and you're gonna sew as much as you can where your hand can hold it. You are not gonna sew holding like this or holding the bottom or just, you know, willy-nilly like this and just let the machine take it. No, you're gonna hold it down with your hand and you're gonna keep your seam allowance along that diagonal seam tape and just take that long sew and stop right here. Why? Because that's where the end of my hand is. I don't want to continue past my hand, because if I do, this fabric is not supported. You need to support your fabric. So you only sew as long as your hands can hold. Okay, some of us have bigger hands, smaller hands. Whatever your hand can support, that's what you're gonna sew. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna take this pin off. My hand is positioned here, and then I can just sew it up to where my hand is. My thumb ends here, so that's where I have to pause. So take that little bit of a pause. You only want to sew where it is supported. So when you're coming upon a pin like this, you're obviously gonna stop to take your pin out. You can then realign your hand and continue sewing. And you're gonna stop. I'm not gonna go past my thumb. And you want to make sure that you continue to do that all the way down. Go ahead and take that pin off. Okay. Just little chunks, and then making sure, of course, that your fabric, got to cut that thread here. You have a thread that got hung up there. Oh, you know what? Looks like I ran out of bobbin. Oh no, I did. I ran out of bobbin. Let's just cut that for a second. It got me. It got me right here. We ran out. All right, that's fine. Totally fine. Let's see. Do I have another one ready to go? I don't think I do. Oh, shoot. I forgot, and I thought about that last night, but then I said, no, I think I've got enough. Let me just check in my little box here if I have a bobbin ready to go. I did run out. I can't believe it got me. Oh, but I have one ready to go. Yay. I did wind one up. Thought I did. Thought about that last night because we had sewed so much that that I thought, oh, I may run out of bobbin because we've just been sewing and sewing and sewing, and I haven't checked to see what my bobbin looked like, and I didn't get a chance to. And with my nails, it's kind of hard to get it out. It's like I have it, but it's on the tip of my nail. Come on now. There we go. Yeah. Look at that. Look at that. Empty, empty, empty. Yep. Yeah, she got me. Definitely got me there. That's okay. We've got another one ready to go. So I'm just going to go ahead and change her up. Let's see here. Get her locked in. Oops. Oh, come on. Can't see. Too many lights. Oh, here we go. There we are. Okay. Checking my tension. Looking good. And then I'll go ahead and pop her. Whoops. Oh no, I popped it out with my nail. Okay, let's try that again. Let's take her out. Now I've got her probably too long, but that's okay. And here we go. Okay. Of course I got her in wrong. Okay, no, come on. Let me wind her up a little bit because I have a little more, too much thread, more than I would like out here. Come on. I'm so used to my other machine. I've got to get more used to changing the bobbin on this one. Okay. Did I get her in right? No, I didn't. Well, wasn't expecting this one, and I know we're running low on time. Oh no! Well, at least we were able to go over the technique. That's the important part that I really wanted you guys to see, because I did research that, and on there, I don't know why this one's giving me such a hard time. I think it's just my nails are not allowing me to function correctly here. I had it perfectly a second ago. There we go. Getting better. Okay. Cool. Tension. Looks great. Let me cut a little bit off. Okay. So when I was researching this, you know, I really wanted to find like articles on sewing, and I've checked my sewing books as well, you know, sewing the long seams and whatnot, but it was really kind of hard to find information on it. So the only thing that I could find was the hand position, which we have talked about, and how important it is, and just supporting the fabric. So keeping your hand onto that fabric and supporting it as it's going under the needle is super important, because if you go ahead and you don't support the fabric as it's going underneath, what's going to happen is your bottom fabric is going to move faster than your top fabric. And so what ends up happening is you're going to end up with your top fabric being longer than your bottom fabric, because you're, without thinking about it, you are holding on to the tension. You're actually having tension on this top fabric. And so the bottom fabric is just being pulled in by those feet dogs. They're going to do their job, and they're just going to pull that fabric. And so we have a tendency to kind of just hold the bottom and top fabric separate. Some people will do that rather than putting them together and holding it with your thumb on the bottom and fingers on top. You know, that's a great way to hold it, but you also want to support that with your other hand as you're approaching the needle, because if you do that, then your fabric will go in smoothly and it'll align the two together nicely, versus you keeping it apart and having the feet dogs kind of move the fabric and then the top fabric just getting warped because you're actually tugging on it, you're pulling on it. And you do it, and you don't do it intentionally. You don't think that you're pulling the fabric, but you are. And sometimes some of these fabrics, you know, they're very stretchy, or they can, you know, it's very slippery. So you may think that you're not pulling the fabric, but you really are. So it's better to keep the two of them aligned and then have them just go together nice and supported. So you definitely want to do that. So I kind of stopped doing the bobbin. Here we go. Let's get it in there. Did I hear the little click? I think I did. Okay. Alrighty. So let me just check. I don't know if it clicked. No, it did not click. It did not click all the way. Don't like that. Let's do that again. Yeah, so my hubby's sending me messages. Will I have time? Yeah, I don't think we're gonna have time. Just because we've only got 5 minutes left. But I don't know why I'm having such a hard time today when I've done this already a bunch of times. There we go. Now it clicked. Heard that. There we go. And it may be a little too long. Let me cut this a little bit. Fiddled so much with it that I think I've just made it too long. Okay. Let's just check. Okay, I think we're good. All right, we're back in business, I think. Come on. Boy, I'm just having a hard time today. It's going to be one of those days. Oh, boy. You know, you have those days sometimes. And that means I'm going to have to wind up some more bobbin because I like to have one ready to go. Right? Don't you hate that when you're in the middle of your project and you'll have to get that done? So, okay. So, like I was saying, hand position. You will only need to support your how can I say this? Your fabric will only be supported as much as your hand can hold. So always support this as you're going through and take it in chunks. Don't hold your fabric like this and feed it. Don't let, you know, this down like here and just think that, oh, the feet dogs will hold it and I'll just kind of hold it and it's going to go willy-nilly on you here and you're just going to try to line it up without supporting here. Super important that you support that fabric so that it gets sewed together correctly. And it also helps for you to be steering side to side. If you don't have this hand supporting this, you can easily start to kind of just slightly start sewing just a little bit off. And before you know it, you're going to end up like this. And then you're going to try to fight it to come back and sew this way. And you're going to end up with a wonky line doing a little swivel wave over here. And you don't want that to happen. So take it in chunks because it is a long seam. And you want to make sure that you're supporting the fabric, following your seam line, and just taking it into pieces. It's the best advice that I've been able to find in all the sewing books and things that I've researched. So I think it's really important to do that. I think it's important that you don't get overwhelmed as to how long the seam is. We know it's a really long seam, but you have to take it into chunks. And then just continuing looking at your seam allowance. You can see here, my seam allowance is looking great. I've got that 1/4 inch. You can stop and measure it if you'd like. You can grab your ruler, make sure you're at that 1/4 inch seam if that's as accurate as you want to get. Now, if you ever short yourself, you can always go back and redo the seam. So if my seam, let me do this with a pin, if my seam allowance ended up being over here, like let's say I sewed 1/8 of an inch instead of sewing the 1/4 inch here, I can still go back and re-sew over here. No one's going to see this 1/8 of an inch seam. It's going to be buried in that seam allowance. No one's going to see it. So you can always go back and extend to get this to be corrected. What you can't do without taking out your seam ripper is sew all the way on this end. Whoops. Right? If you end up overcompensating and sewing, let's say, a 1/2 inch instead of the 1/4 inch, in that case, you don't have a choice. You're going to have to take out your seam ripper and you're going to have to do this. So definitely, you know, take that into account as you do this and just kind of, you know, make sure that you're holding on to it and just doing as much as you can. Okay, so that's really what I wanted to kind of let you guys know today. That's what all the research I've done, that's what I've seen and what they've talked about. So I'll go ahead and finish this border and I'll have this all finished and show you this on Monday. So guys, we are out of time, and let's run really quickly to our inspirational quote of the day because I want to leave that with you guys. So let's go to the quote of the day, and today's quote of the day is, stitch by stitch, confidence is sewn into every finished project. And that's what we're going to do, stitch by stitch, to finish this project off, and I'll show you the results on Monday. Thank you guys all so much for all of your support. I truly appreciate everything. Yes, I Mr. H is kind of talking, kind of distracting me here. But yeah, he wants to say thank you so much for all of the wishes, and we want to thank you guys for all of your support. I really appreciate it. Hope you have a fantastic weekend, and I hope to be crafting with you soon. Bye, everyone.
So long for now, so long. Glad you stayed a while. Hope you liked my crafting style. Hope I left you with a smile. By now, keep your mind and space clutter-free. Hope your day is bright as can be. So long, my friends, till we craft once again. Bye now, stay crafting. See you tomorrow. So long, my friends, till we craft once again.